in the morning. So it is like 10:05 on the West Coast, and it's like Sunday morning here. The days are kind of bleeding into each other. I don't even know what Sunday, May 17th. And I am playing some 10-yard fight because I felt like doing some sports tonight. This is from IRM 1983. This is the Arcade Archives version on the PS4 that I'm playing this evening. I have a little bit of history with this game, and I have some things that I want to say about it. But first, I want to just play it a little bit. And it's interesting. This version of the game is both the versus version of the game and also the arcade version. And the arcade original is what we're going to play this time around. So, 10-yard fight again from 1983 is an arcade football game where you're battling against the clock. You're not really battling against the computer opponent. So you're battling against the clock to try and get down the field as quickly as you can before time runs out. Now, I am not very good at this game, so we're going to play it for a little bit first, and then I'm going to talk about it after. So with the kickoff here, you can manipulate your players to try and get your blocking set up. Oh! And the time doesn't start until you actually take possession after the kickoff. You get points for long passes like that. That one really didn't work to my benefit. So you have to get first down in order to put more time on the clock. If you don't, the time continues to run. Ugh. So it's now 3rd and 2. So this lateral play is what I always run, and the reason that I run it this way is I watched someone in the arcade play it, and that's pretty much what he did. There were two things that he would do. He would either throw it long, or he would throw the lateral pass. And as you can see, time is running down pretty quickly here. I'm down to 17 seconds left here. I've left myself not a lot of space in the sideline, but I still have enough for the first. So even if time runs out, I'm going to get additional time to play with. So I'll get 8 seconds or 6 seconds, and it's 1st and 9, so I just have to get 9 yards here. That wasn't good. So this will be the last play unless I get the touchdown. So I've got to make it into the goal line or I'm done. Oh, yeah. Oh. With no time left on the clock, I got in. If you had time left on the clock, you'd get bonus. And then here, you just have to kick the field goal. You have to line it up in the bottom of the star or close to it in order to get it through the uprights. You could also choose to run it in, but I never do that, just so I can get some bonus points. So you get 2 halves. So you get to play each team twice, basically. And you only have to score on 1 possession. Now, if you're an NES owner or a Nintendo fan, you remember that 10-Yard Fight is also a black box game. And plays differently than the arcade version. The arcade version here, again, is just 1 possession. The NES version is a lot different in that the clock is not a factor. And you can kind of understand why they chose that route because it's a home game, it's not an arcade game. And I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. So I have my first down already, which is great. So I'm going to get the maximum extra time. So I'll get 10 additional seconds added on. And I only need 7 yards to get into the end zone here. Well, it's going to be close. Got it. That's a nice little tidy bonus at the end. Alright. So, second verse, same as the first. That's going a little left to center, but that'll work. So once you beat the high school team, once you score on the high school team twice, you move on to a college team where the field, or the timer moves a bit faster, and the AI is a little bit smarter. Plus, you get 10 less seconds, as if you needed to have less time on the clock. And the kickoffs also go deeper, so this takes you almost to the 20. And the flying V formation that I used before does not work here. But I got a first down. Or not yet, but now I do. That's good. So you get 10 less seconds, the time runs faster, so you have to be more productive on the field. Oh boy, that was risky. If I get that first down, I'm good. Alright, we're moving our way up the field. This is good. Not going to get the long pass here, so I have to play the lateral and try and get the 10 yards that way. Not going to happen, so it's going to be second and what, 2? Oh! That's not good. 3rd and 1. But I'll be able to get beyond the line, so I'll still be able to play. But I will only have one play before my time runs out. I'll have like 2 seconds. Or 4 seconds. Oh, and the formation is bad. I couldn't break free at the line. Oh, nope. Done. So 30,650. So that's just a brief look, and we'll play it again here in a little bit. And yep, I will register my high score. So my relationship with this game, if you really want to call it a relationship, goes back to the Holyoke Mall at Ingleside, in Holyoke, Massachusetts, which is about 10 minutes away from where I live right now. At the Holyoke Mall, that was one of my 2 local mall arcades. There was one in Chicopee that I've talked about at the Fairfield Mall called Just Fun, and there was also another Just Fun at the Holyoke Mall. The Fairfield Mall one was much smaller in size. The Holyoke Mall one was huge, probably about double the size of the Fairfield Mall one. And to be fair, the Fairfield Mall one, the Fairfield Mall was a smaller mall anyway. So I remember seeing this at the Holyoke Mall, and I did not play it. Back in 1983, I really wasn't a sports video game guy yet. I did play a little bit, but really my interest was more like Dragon's Lair and Star Wars and Gorf was still a big one for me back then. See if I can get some extra points here. Nice. So this was located, there were two openings at the Holyoke Mall in Ingleside Just Fun Arcade. There was one that was close to a McDonald's, and then there was one that was a bit more separated. So the one that was closer to the McDonald's or the food court was the one that I always went in, because I typically, when I would go in and out of that arcade, I would get something to eat and drink. Usually I was with my my paternal grandmother at the time, so she would give me like $5 to use, and then she would give me a little bit of extra money to go to the food court, which was Cafe Square, they called it back then. So so going in there, this was one of the games that was along the wall, and that second entrance, I guess you could call it. And like I said, you know, ooh, that sucks. I watched people play this game. I did not really play it myself. I thought it looked cool, but I really didn't understand the premise, other than the fact that you had to score. But I didn't understand the strategy. Come on, shake it off. There we go. So I watched people play this a lot, and the big problem with and it wasn't a problem, but the big thing with the going to the arcade as a kid was that I came from a relatively poor family, so I didn't have a lot of money to spend at the arcade when I was a kid. And I'm going to score again. Man, I'm on fire. So I did a lot of watching, and I also did a lot of coin return slot digging as a kid as well. I admit it. But I would watch people play this game, and I remember watching one guy play this like super well. I'm pretty sure he got to the professional level, which I still can't do, even though I have this game on both the Switch and the PS4. But I always wanted this to come out like this for the home consoles, because I did play it for the NES, and I remember when I played it, it was at a friend's house. And I remember telling myself, I'm like, this is different. I mean, it's kind of cool that it's the arcade game, but it plays differently. So I remember thinking to myself, especially when I got older, that I wanted to have like the actual arcade version of the game rather than the NES version. The NES version looked decent enough and played fine, but not having the clock there and not having like a high score like you can in this game, I thought just changed the whole dynamic of the game itself. It became just another sports game at that point. That was a terrible play on my part, which I was disappointed with. Because a lot of it's nostalgia, of course, because I played the arcade game a little bit. I remember watching people play it, and it wasn't the same. So when this came out, I remember how excited I was, and I jumped all over it for the Switch first, and then the PS4 here second. I'm going for close to a personal best. I don't think I'm going to get there. Ooh. And this is where it gets harrowing, because now you don't have enough time in between plays. So if you don't get that first down, it's game over. Unless it's a quick second down. Oh, did I get it? I think I just got across the line. There we go. 1st and 4. Get out of there. Come on. Get there. Yes. And that is a new high score for me. All right. Now I have to try and keep it between the 2 stars up there. I think I got it. I think. There we go. 42,000. I will not... Now, see, I have 30 seconds instead. So it keeps dropping by 10 seconds with every difficulty level. And now the kickoff's to the 15. But again, this is an arcade game. They don't want you to be playing forever. And that's one way to make sure you don't. I did run a kickoff back once, and I did it in caravan mode. In caravan mode, for those that don't know, if you haven't played Arcade Archives or you haven't watched me play, you get 5 minutes with very limited interruption in those 5 minutes, by the way. Oh, that's too bad. So you have to try and get a high score that way, and I lucked out where the first time I had the ball... and ran it all the way back. Oh, that's terrible. And that was worth 10,000 points, I think. And I'd never done that before. Probably noticed down at the bottom of the screen there's some kanji there. This is the Japanese version of the game. Hamster tends to run with the Japanese versions. Oof. I'm going to have a little time. Boy, this is not good. I'd like to try and score one more time. Oh, boy. Ooh. This is it. Time's up. All I have to do is get across the goal line. Oh, yes. All right. I didn't get any bonus points, but I don't care. Again, between the stars, between the stars. Here we go. Oh, that is about as perfect as I can make it. There we go. So I think it's, yep, now it's the protein. Now I'm dead. I think the kickoff goes all the way back to the 5 here. But I'm having my best ever run, so this is kind of cool that it's here on stream. 10, 5, all right, so the 10. So at this point, I'd already have, like, arcade owners upset because I've already played the game for, like, way too long in 1 credit. Although it'd just be, like, the manager. And in arcade games, now I don't know whether this had it because I've never seen the whether it has any kind of coin tracking or diagnostics or what, but some arcade games will track like how long the average credit is. And I've already played like way too long. This would be where, you know, the arcade operator wants you to put more quarters in or more tokens in. I think this was still... no, this was token. Oh, that's too bad. So I have 25 seconds to get 17 yards. But again, what's also working against me is that... Oh, hey, you're supposed to block there. Is that the timer is running faster. That was only 4 yards. Come on. No. Oh, boy. 55,550. Oh, and he picked it off. I was too greedy. Now I have 1 play to make it all the way. Which I won't do. Oh, that's it. Oh well, throw 2 picks in a drive, you don't deserve to win. But I got my high score. I'm the best record holder for today. I will gladly take that. If I had actually done that in an arcade when I was 11, I would have gladly taken that for sure. So that's a look at 10 Yard Fight, at least the main game mode. It is still a game that I'm not great at. Again, this is my best run, so I'm pretty excited about that. What we're going to do now is we are going to try our luck at caravan mode here. And again, this is just 5 minutes. And there's my score. I am 9th, so I'm still in the top 10. Oh, maybe it was. Yeah, it was this version that I ran the kickoff all the way back. That must have been how I did it. Not going to happen this time because I have a defender that got away. We will see. Yeah. And during this, oh boy. During this whole time, the clock keeps running. So not only do you have to worry about the game clock, but you have to worry about the caravan clock here. It's alright, I'll get my first down here. Now I've got an opening that I'm going to try and take advantage of. Oh, no, he missed, so I've got it. I think I'm going to be just short. Ugh. Ugh. Didn't want to do that. Boy, oh boy. This is not the kind of run you want to have when you're up against the clock. Got it. There we go. So I'm going to have one more drive. Maybe 2, but I would need to run it in or have a good run and a very short drive. We'll see how that works out. So I talked a little bit about this. Came out in 83. So in 83 I was 11. 83 is also the year that Dragon's Lair hit arcades. And I've played Dragon's Lair on my YouTube channel before, and I'll probably stream Dragon's Lair here on Twitch sometime in the future. But arcades in '83 were awesome. 1983 was a year that I definitely needed arcades to be awesome because there was just so much upheaval going on in my living situation. So it was nice to kind of have a place to get away from it all. And really, that's what arcades were for me, or any place that had a coin op, whether it was an actual mall arcade or whether it was in a convenience store, or I've told the Call's Corner story before. That's where I played arcade games when I was in high school. But arcades were really, and I've talked about it on Twitter before, arcades were to me what the Fortress of Solitude was or is to Superman. It's the place where you go to kind of leave everything behind and kind of get your head screwed on straight. And that was me. That's what I needed, was to get into an arcade, typically with my Walkman on, and just kind of lose myself for a little while. And I don't think I would have played this. I would have picked this game to play if I was having a rough day. But playing games like this certainly reminds me of the old arcade game days, if you want to call them that. It was something I desperately needed, and I got lucky to have through most of my childhood. Yeah, I thought I would only have one left, and I was right, and I'm going to barely get this kickoff. I might not even get it. 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, just under the buzzer. So I got, what, 25,000? We'll try it one more time. Also in 83, so I'd either go to the mall arcades, either to Fairfield Mall or Holyoke Mall, play stuff like this. I think I've told the story about the pool hall I used to go to when I was during this time. It's a place called Ivory Billiards, which I believe is still open, and that's in Holyoke, Mass. And I went there a lot during my my elementary and middle school days when I lived close enough. And I was very lucky because the staff there was super nice to me. Now, they didn't give me quarters to play or anything like that. And again, it's a pool hall. So at the same time, because it was a pool hall, they could have chosen to treat me funny or think weird things. I can't believe I did that. But they were super nice. And, you know, whenever I would have an issue, like if I would put a coin in the machine and it wouldn't come out, or if a game wasn't working right, they would take care of me. They would give me the quarter back. And it was great. The games that were in the arcade back then, and I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to see if I've got my memory right. I was playing, and I'm going to move up just a little bit closer to the camera. There we go. I was playing Donkey Kong Jr. I was playing Mr. Do. I was playing Pole Position. Tutankhamun, which is Stern's Egyptian-based weird shooter. What else did they have? I think those are the ones that I remember, and really because those are the ones that oh boy, that's a sack. Nice job. Those are the ones that I spent the most time playing. Man, I'm getting housed here. But I used to love going there. And it's a funny story. When I moved back here to Mass from Arizona, the first job that I had, and it didn't last long. I only did one event. Is I worked as like street team for a radio station, and the radio station did a promo event at that billiards place. So I went there and I set up, and I mentioned as an aside to the manager on duty that I used to spend a lot of time there back in the 80s, and I guess it was the owner's daughter or granddaughter who said that the owner remembered that there were kids like me that would hang out there, so that was kind of neat. 83 was that was a weird time. I had a paper route back then. And I was such a nerd that I had my money taken from me by a bully on a paper route. That was not my those were not my best days, that's for sure. But one of my favorite memories from then too is there was a pizza place that used to be not far from my route, and they had I might get the kickoff here. And they had the Star Trek arcade machine. Ah, so close. Star Trek Strategic Operations Simulator, and they had the sit-down, the deluxe sit-down model. Oh man, that was awesome. Now, I didn't have a lot of money then, but I did, you know, when I would get paid or when I have money left over for my paper route, I would go and I would play, and that was pretty awesome. And that arcade machine was something else. That had some speech synthesis, and it felt like you were sitting in the captain's chair. And I think it was right around the same time, or right around the time that Wrath of Khan was a thing, because I remember like telling myself lines from the movie while I'm sitting in the captain's chair, and oh, it was awesome. I am not gonna get close, am I? I have. This doesn't help. They really should stop the timer here. 26,900. So yeah, you really need to be able to run the kickoff all the way back, and here it's not going to matter. By the time I catch it, I have 5 seconds left. I get like 50 points a yard, and that's it. So that's unfortunate. So when we take a look at the online rankings here, I'm 9th. And I am from the U.S. with 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm 4th in the U.S., which is kind of cool. Do they have the full 100? I think they do, yep. So to get to on the leaderboard at all, you have to get over 16,000 points, or almost 17,000 in order to get on there. I love this mode in all of the Arcade Archives games. It is a lot of fun because you really have to have perfect runs. You have to be able to formulate a strategy to be able to get as high a score as possible, and you can't make any mistakes. I was messing around with Moon Patrol before I started to stream and decided to do this instead. And Moon Patrol is just so easy to make a mistake. If you miss one ship, if you die once, your whole run is ruined, and you need to restart. So it's really like the perfect run of sorts. I do that with Frogger too, and that's another game I'm going to stream here on Twitch probably this coming week. I think that the weather is going to cooperate. We had some really bad weather here last night. We had some pretty serious thunderstorms in New York State, which is west of here. They had a fairly long track F1 tornado touchdown. In Holyoke, which is, like I said, about 10 minutes from here, they had straight line winds that blew the roof off of an apartment building. So 170 people were homeless because of that. There was damage everywhere, and the state, just Massachusetts alone, had over 30,000 people without power. So it was definitely scary. So because the PS4, when if the power ever goes out, the PS4 freaks out if it shuts down dirty to where your hard drive looks like it's broken and you have stuff you have to fix. I didn't really mess with it. I think what we'll do here, since we're only about 30 minutes in, we're going to go ahead and check out the Versus 10-Yard Fight original mode here and see if there are any differences. I don't think there are. I do want to go ahead and just make a couple of changes. Where's the display settings? Oh, that's about right. I just want to lessen the scan lines here. I don't think you're going to notice much of a difference here, although I haven't set a high score in this particular mode, the Versus mode. And the Versus games, I don't know if this was Nintendo's doing or if this was IREM's doing. The Versus games, from what I understood, were a Nintendo thing, like Versus Baseball, Versus Castlevania, Versus RBI Baseball, things like that. I don't remember seeing a Versus 10-Yard Fight, though. It's interesting. I like how they run, the running sound effect. You can hear like the guy hitting the drum as he's running. Oh, this is the US version for sure. The Japanese is gone. I wonder if this one's any easier. Going well so far. Oops. course, I had to jinx myself. Why is that guy not blocking? Dude, block. No. There we go. Oh, that seems to be a little easier. All right. So hopefully everyone is continuing to manage during this very weird time in history. I really don't leave my house much, so I really don't have a lot to comment on. I've been very lucky. Been getting my groceries and necessities generally delivered, and I've been pretty fortunate in that most of the stuff that I've been looking for I've been able to find, so it hasn't really been an issue, at least not yet. I did get kind of sort of surgical masks to wear finally, and I wore one for the first time today. Before then, I've been wearing a PlayStation scarf when I go out in public. So this was a little bit different, and it's definitely going to take some getting used to. Breathing, especially when you're out for a walk, and today was a gorgeous day here in southern New England, so definitely going to take some getting used to in terms of breathing and things like that. I got robbed. He just threw it right to the guy. That's good. But I just still been working on school. The school that I work at is still in session. I'm still working with kids, which is great. I guess the big news, and I mentioned it. Oops, I mentioned it on Twitter. I also mentioned it on my Facebook page. I'm very close to going back to school. Oh, that's what I should have done. I just got accepted to Southern New Hampshire University for an online course, for online coursework for a computer science degree. And it's kind of funny how that works out. Before getting into education, when I made the decision to go back to college, when I moved back here from Arizona, computer science was my major, and I think I've told the story about how I changed my mind. I changed my major after a psychology class kind of convinced me that I should do something that is going to make me happiest. Something called intrinsic versus extrinsic rewards. Extrinsic is when you're getting paid or you're getting something tangible out of it, or as intrinsic is something that you want to do for yourself, for your betterment, or because you like it, or if there's some other kind of advantage. Wow, that's terrible. It's not a good game. I have to play again. So I had taken my time when I was going to college. I went to Springfield Technical Community College, so it was a community college that I started going to. And I was taking 2 to 3 courses per semester, which if you're going to graduate anytime soon is not enough. So, and I did it completely wrong. I was taking my electives well before some of my core courses because I didn't want to take the core courses because I was being lazy. Stuff like English 101, for example. I waited on that until like the second semester. And I had to take some remedial math courses because when I applied for the college, I did terribly on the math placement test, and I hadn't taken like algebra or anything in years. By the time I went back to college, it had been 20 years since I graduated. So it was kind of embarrassing, actually, that I did so poorly. But I'm kind of glad that worked out the way it did because the professors that I had for remedial math really made me appreciate that kind of math, even though I had hated it before. So without having to take those courses, I wouldn't have developed a finer appreciation for it, and consequently, I don't think that I would have been as good in a school setting working with students if I didn't learn to appreciate it in college. Same thing for history, honestly. Um, I hated history in high school. I thought history was dumb. Social studies classes were just boring. But I had two fantastic U.S. history teachers at my community college who completely changed my mind and made me appreciate the subject matter a lot more. Now, my world civilization class that I took during the summer, which was it was online and it was accelerated, and I hated that because I was writing 8 to 10 page papers every week for that class, just in notes and things alone. So that kind of turned me off to world civilization, but as it turns out, this year one of the classes that I'm assisting in is a European geography / early civilization class for 7th grade, and I've really enjoyed that. So again, it just kind of works out that if you have the right teachers or the right situation, like your opinions on things can change. I should have gone the other way. And it's been fantastic. Now, the reason that I decided to go back to school is because I have a feeling that one of the lasting effects of the virus here is going to be that education jobs are going to be pretty tough to come by. And there's going to be some downsizing, especially if remote learning continues to be a thing, which I think it's going to. So I had to make a call. I'm like, all right, what am I going to do here? How am I going to do this? I can't believe I threw it to him. What am I going to do with my life if I'm not going to be able to work in a classroom or work in a school? And what I decided was I would just go back to what I was originally going to do. So I submitted the application to the university. I didn't know what they were going to say or what they were going to find in the transcripts. I knew that I had good grades in college. But I found out that 40 some odd credits transferred. So I saved myself some time. And it's going to work out nicely in terms of if the financial aid works out. Because I still have some Pell Grant eligibility, and for those who haven't been to school before, depending on your income situation, and because I work in a job I don't make a ton of money, I'm still eligible for federal grants to go back to school. I didn't use all my eligibility when I was at the community college because I had some issues with financial aid to begin with. So things are looking, at this point, they're looking like they're going to be okay. I'm not going to know for sure until I get the financial aid paperwork, whatever that is. But according to my federal financial aid form, you have to call the FAFSA. If you fill that out, I should be in good shape. And the other thing that I found out today that I'm pretty excited about, I just have to see whether it's going to count, is that when I was at the community college, because my GPA was so good, I was part of the college version of the National Honor Society called Phi Theta Kappa. And I guess that gets you 10% off of your tuition at this college if you're an active member, which I am. So that will help me even more. So it's pretty exciting stuff. I am nervous, job-wise. I'm very nervous about what's going to happen next year. I have a feeling that I'm going to be spending some time on the unemployment list because I think my job is going to be. I'm basically going to be laid off. So that will give me some time. I'll have some I'll be looking for jobs as best I can, but I'll have some time to maybe get a semester of college in, and then we'll kind of see what happens from there. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'd like to be working again next year at the same middle school that I've been working at. It's a fantastic staff. It's been great working with the kids this year. It's something that I think that I was built to do, but again, I don't have any say. Budgets are going to be really bad this year because tax revenue is going to be so short. And if you know anything about how budgets work, for schools, you're getting a little bit from a few different places. You're getting some from the federal government, and the rest of it is coming from the state or the city slash town that your school is in. And tax revenue is down across the board. Federal tax revenue is down because they had to delay federal taxes for people. And then state tax revenue is down for that same reason and because businesses have been shut down. And we don't know what's going on with property taxes either, which is another big part of the education budget. So there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that I don't know. And what works against me is that I started in this role at the middle school this year. So if you know how seniority works in a union situation, which is what education is, it's all union based. I'm going to be one of the first to go if they're going to do any layoffs at all. So, yeah, I'm nervous. I can't beat around the bush there, because if I don't have a job, that's going to make things very difficult in terms of paying my bills and basic survival stuff. So I just have to wait and see. You know, the good news is the federal stimulus check came in a good time because I was still working, so I've been able to put that away and sit on it. So I'll have basically 2 months of expenses for the summer, whereas usually I would wind up trying to find a job for the summer. So now, because jobs aren't going to be all that available, it's going to be close. Because jobs aren't all that available, I just threw it right to them. I'll still have a couple of months to kind of wait and see what happens if I don't hear anything from the school or the school district before then. Oh, I still got first place. Look at that. So a lot of uncertainty. And what's... boy. I didn't put my initials in right. All right, let's do it again. One more time. That'll take us to an hour. Our school ends a little bit earlier this year, and that's understandable because of everything that's been going on. We end on June 12th, which is now less than a month, which is kind of weird. But it's going to be good for the kids. It's going to be good for the teachers who are really stressed out too. And then I don't know how things are going to go. I have some theories as to what's going to happen over the summer. I think they're going to be working on their remote learning plan, like how their computer teaching plan. I think that the State Board of Education here is going to have a very busy summer getting ready for things just in case, because I don't think that they want to be in a situation where if there are closures again, that they're not ready, which again makes sense. It's good preparedness. So I think that it's going to be the summer that wasn't for a lot of people in education. I think that school superintendents are going to be very busy during the summer. State boards of education will be very busy during the summer. If you're a school principal, you're going to be very busy during the summer. It's one of those things you wish you kind of weren't salaried because you really don't get any time off. And I think they're just going to be getting ready just in case. You know, the hope obviously is that there's going to be some kind of in-school instruction. Um, I know that parents want some parents want their kids to go back to school. There are some teachers that want to get back. Um, there wants to be some kind of normalcy. So um, there's that sense that from some, and again, it's not a universal thing, that schools need to be open in some way, shape, or form. But who knows? I can't predict anything about that. I've never seen anything like this in my 48 years on this planet. So I really can't forecast. The only reason I take more of a vested interest, of course, is just because how schools go for next year is going to also affect what I'm going to wind up doing. And while I'd like to be helpful to kids, I think that for someone like me or someone who's in the job role that I'm in, that there's some good that comes out of it. And I think that there's more that we could do if they think about it. I really don't know how they're going to play it. All right. Oh. What else is going on? I have a few minutes here. I took advantage of GameStop's flash sale, which was like last weekend, I think, where the more games you bought, the more money you could save. If you bought like 5 games, you got 50% off of all of the games that you bought. There we go. So I got some retro stuff that I know that I don't need, but I got it anyway. I got some GameCube stuff. I got, and it's things that I probably should have had by now, honestly, and I don't have any excuse for not having them. Come on. There we go. Metroid Prime 2. Echoes. I did not have that. Now, I'm not the biggest Metroid Prime fan, but it's still one of those, if you have a GameCube, the Metroid Prime games are ones you probably should have in your library. So I got that. I got Crash Tag Team Racing for the GameCube. I got, oh, that's terrible. I got Need for Speed Underground 2 as well for the Cube. And I have, I've been using my Wii for my GameCube. Oh, man, that's terrible. My GameCube gaming, I guess you could say. I still have a purple, not a purple, a silver GameCube that I can use, and that may be changing in terms of what I'm going to be playing games on. I guess that's the other thing. Oh boy, that was terrible. I mentioned in a previous stream, I don't know whether it was here on Twitch or whether it was on YouTube, I've forgotten which. My living situation is going to be changing one way or another in the next few weeks. I've been living here with family for the last 8.5 years. I moved back here from Arizona in November 2011. I got back here just in time for Thanksgiving that year, and I've been here ever since. And the house that I live in, I live in 2 rooms, or I have 2 rooms. I have the office that I'm sitting in here, and then I have a bedroom. And as time has gone on, and I've recovered, especially over the last 3 or 4 years when I've been working for a living instead of going back to school, it's been difficult to kind of live in just 2 rooms. So I'm in a situation where one of 2 things is going to happen. Either I'll be renting this house. That's one option, where the whole house will be for me to use instead of just 2 rooms. That's the less likely scenario. The more likely scenario, that was terrible. The more likely scenario is that I move out. I actually have line on a on an apartment now. I just have to see if it's going to be available. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be. And if that's the case, then, you know, obviously I'll be moving this summer or sooner. So I have to see what's going to happen there. It's pretty exciting, honestly. Oh boy, you gotta get out of there. Oh boy. It will be nice to be able to space out a little bit. And the other thing that I've got to do is I've got to get some room for all the retro stuff. I think I talked about this in my last stream or my last couple of streams. Like selection in order to beef up my retro stuff and other things is that I'm surrounded by it. You know, I think I've talked about the fact I have 950 PlayStation 2 games, and like 700 of those, I think, are with cases. I have 750 original PlayStation games. I have over 300 Wii games. And I've run out of room to put them. As a matter of fact, I was making some storage space today because the family members that I live with in the house here, they're coming back from Florida on Wednesday, which means I'm going to be in quarantine for the next 2 weeks. And I came across some games that I had opened for Unsealed that I didn't put with the other things that I own. So I literally have games like everywhere. Some people have asked me to if they could check out my collection, and I'm just like, I don't have anything set up to be able to show it off. It's kind of a mess. So I'm hoping no matter what the situation's going to be when all this is said and done, that I'll be able to have more of an organization or more of a setup. Oh, please tell me I got there. Nope. Ugh, it's terrible. But that's the goal in the move or in the change, is to try and have some more room for things. Honestly, though, I mean, aside from the GameStop deal, that's terrible. I had really slowed way down on my retro buying because I don't really need it, first of all, and second of all, like I don't have the room to store it. I think I'm going to go one more time. I'm having a good time talking here. Here we go. I mean, when you get to a point when you're collecting where you have this many games, and something I told myself, one of the things that I wanted to do is I wanted to collect games, or I wanted to get games that I knew I was going to play. And then that kind of changed when I got into Unsealed a couple of years ago, where I was a lot of that was duplicate, but not all of it. So I have a lot of stuff. Plus, I didn't plan on getting the Wii a few years ago, and Wii collecting right now is just so easy because there's at least until the pandemic, nobody wanted Wii stuff. Everyone was trying to unload it. So adding stuff for Wii had been really easy, and getting to 300 games was not all that difficult. Now, it can be argued that there aren't really 300 really good games for the Wii, and you know, I kind of feel that. But some of them, because I've developed an affinity for the system over the years. I wanted to have them. Oh. Did I get the first down? Yeah. No, that's not going to be good. And I had talked about this, I think, before. is that I didn't appreciate the Wii when it first came out. When I first had it, it was kind of there, and I certainly used the Virtual Console quite a bit. But it was always like a third console or a second console. Like when I first got it, I played it for a bit, but I also had my PS2, which I was using a lot at the time. And granted, in the early days of the Wii, like there were some good games, but it was the library was still kind of developing. But then when I got my Xbox 360, then I played my Wii even less, to the point where in 2000 and in 2011 I sold it off because I wasn't using it at all. I used the the trade-in money to get a 3DS at launch, which was a waste. But then, as fate usually has it, after you part with something is when you find yourself really wanting it, and that's what happened. I don't know how he didn't pick that off. So I wound up getting the Wii in 2015, just after I had finished a tour of duty at a mall GameStop, which I had taken that job because financial aid for the college that I was going to for Springfield Technical Community, there were issues with it, and I didn't get in for a semester, so I needed to go back to work because I wasn't going to sit here and do nothing. So that's when I started to have some interest in the Wii, as the store had quite a few of them, and they were running a pretty good deal at the time on Wii's with Motion Plus. Ugh, that was bad. So I got one, like the last week I was working or something, I got one because I was able to get the employee discount on it. Bam. And I've had it ever since. I think that was 2015. I think I mean just short, right? Yeah. And now, I own more games for it than I ever had when I originally had the Wii. And I was able to get a lot of the Virtual Console games back that I had originally bought. There were some that I didn't get back because licenses had expired. Like Bloody Wolf is one that I really regret, because that's a great game. There we go. But my Wii definitely gets a decent amount of gameplay. My original PlayStation still gets a lot of gameplay, or at least did. I really haven't played a lot of late. I've been really big into modern consoles over the last, really this year. And it's not something that I envisioned would happen. It just kind of happened that way. And it's not something regrettable. I still have a lot of things about modern gaming that I can't stand. But there's been some good stuff. Now, granted, I have spent money on things that I probably shouldn't have because I didn't like them. But I heard, I kind of gave in to the peer pressure or the, wow, this is going to be really good syndrome. One example of that is Doom Eternal. I got that from my Xbox One before all the lockdowns started. There we go. And what I wasn't prepared for in that game, it kind of reminds me of Brutal Legend a little bit, that the shooting action's great. If it was just a shooter, I'd be all over it. It's the weird traversal platforming sections that angered me so much that I gave up. I literally uninstalled it and I never went back to it. And I know, and I got like the deluxe edition too, so I have like season pass content or season 1 content or whatever they're calling it. I have that stuff coming, and I may wind up going back through and downloading it again and giving it a chance, but I was really disappointed with that. And then Animal Crossing for the Switch. Everybody and their brother was talking about that. And for the first, I don't know, I don't know, like 5 hours, I guess. It was decent. I was having fun with it. And then there was a section in the game where you had to farm certain crafting materials in order to expand the Nook store or whatever, and one of them was like metal pieces or whatever it was, and I wasn't able to farm them enough, and there were like rocks that were disappearing, and once progression stopped, I just gave up, and I didn't go back to it, and then it was just sitting on my SD card for a while, and this past week I finally just deleted it. Maybe I'll go back to it at some point, I don't know. But it was, that was one. And all of these, by the way, I had bought digitally because of all the store closures. So I'm kind of stuck with them now. I can certainly re-download them at any point if I decide that I want to try them again. But I'm not in any major hurry to do that. And then I got the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I like to call the Final Fantasy VII Retcon, because it is not Final Fantasy VII, really. I mean, it has the characters and it has the settings, but it's not Final Fantasy VII. They changed the story around so much, and they added so much random filler and other things that I have, like, no affinity towards it at all. I don't. I still have that on my hard drive, though, because I probably will go back and try to enjoy it again at some point in the not-too-distant future. But as of right now, there's other stuff that I'd rather be playing or that I'm having fun playing, like the Arcade Archive stuff here. Ooh, that might actually be a good idea. Oh, I think I stopped short. I Frankenstanza'd. But the other reason, aside from the fact that, and I know I've gotten lucky because I'm enjoying the modern stuff, but the other reason, like I said, is just where all the retro stuff is set up in the other room across the hall. Like, there's no room. And now that's my workspace. Oh, I can't believe I did that. Game over? Game over. So I have, like, no room to play. So it's another reason why I'm kind of waiting for the living situation thing to kind of change. All right, now I got to make sure I put my name in right. PJ, there we go. S, there we go. Number 1. So anyway, it's been over an hour, and I will do more of these streams next week. Probably Monday night. If not Monday night, then Tuesday night for sure. But I'm thinking Monday night because Tuesdays I have off from teaching. So that's what I think I'm going to do. Again, Twitch here is going to be my new home base. I've asked some people about streaming destinations, and I'm seeing a lot of people going back to Twitch after trying out YouTube for a little while. So that's what I'm going to be doing, at least as far as the PS4 goes. In terms of the Xbox One, I do have a microphone now. I got myself a headset for the Xbox One, and so I do some stuff I've tried some stuff on Mixer. The microphone sounds decent enough, so I may do that from time to time, but it's not going to be optimal. It would primarily be PS4, and then of course Unsealed stuff will be continuing on a pretty regular basis now that I've kind of gotten back into the groove. If you missed it, this week's episode was featuring Zone of the Enders, which was a fun game to open. Talked a lot about the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo and my history with Metal Gear Solid 2, how that was the first major game review that I ever did, and how I had to play through it and write a review in 48 hours. That was a fun story. I do have some games, some stuff still coming in the mail this week. or within the next week or two, I think. One of those is, and it's not going to be opened until September, but it's a copy of Ridge Racer for the original PlayStation. It is not an original copy; it is a greatest hits copy. But to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the PlayStation, I'll be opening that and talking about my Ridge Racer story. Some of you have already heard it, but it makes sense to tell it again on that day. I also have a sealed magazine coming. It is a sealed Sega Visions magazine from 1992 that I won a bid on eBay. I didn't think that I would. It was a relatively low price. And I know that I have a ton of magazines behind me that I need to get to. And I'm going to get to those, believe me, because I want to be able to open those up and read them. So those are added to the pile. I've had my eye on some things on eBay lately. But it's just one of those things where, when I look and see the stuff that I'm watching, like, I don't necessarily know that it's stuff that I need or would want, other than for the show. And I've done so much sports stuff too that, like, I don't know how much interest there would be. But I still have my eyes open for things. I'm still looking to see what would be a good fit for the show. Like, there's a sealed copy of Backstreet Billiards here for the original PlayStation that I'm kind of half considering. $15 is a pretty good deal for that. I did a big golf episode not too long ago where I opened up 3 golf games for the PlayStation. And I had talked in that episode about, or I'd shown off VR Golf 97, and I said that there was a sequel of sorts called Fox Sports Golf 99, and now that is available here for $12. So I'm kind of thinking about that. I really want to pull the trigger, but I can't on a sealed copy of Hal's Hole-in-One Golf for the Super Nintendo. Honestly, like, they're asking $60 for it. That includes shipping, and it's coming from Canada. But that's just a little too much for me right now, especially considering that the employment situation, I don't know what's going to be happening. What else is here that I've been kind of having an eye on? There's a sealed copy of NBA Hang Time for the N64. Boy, if I had the money for that, I would be all over it. But that's like $127. And I definitely don't have that kind of money. Not for that. What else have I been looking at here? There's some more magazines that I've had my eyes on. What else? Of course, now there's a copy of Dave Mira's Dave Mira Freestyle BMX after I had opened up Maximum Remix, so that's probably not going to happen. Let's see. There is a new copy, sealed copy of NHL 96 for the Genesis that I'm considering. There is a sealed copy of Fantavision for the PS2. I'm thinking about getting that because I'm going to be doing the PlayStation 2 20th anniversary unsealed show. I have a couple of games I'm going to open for that. And that would be another launch title. So I'm looking at that one. And that's about it. So, I mean, I have been looking because I want to try and add some things. Believe it or not, the game pile is starting to diminish a little, and it's still very sports heavy. So I'm trying to get some stuff that's not just sports because I know not everyone is into sports like I am. So that's the general idea. So, so more unsealed this week. That's definitely happening. I'm thinking that there's going to be some more streams on Twitch from me this coming week as well. Probably not tomorrow night, as I have to work on Monday early. So me streaming late probably isn't going to happen, but we'll see. No promises. And then at some point, I should probably set up a schedule. And I'll definitely keep you guys in the loop in terms of like the living situation, because once that changes, obviously my streaming schedule may change, and also more in terms of my filming schedule may change. So I'll definitely let you guys know. But in the meantime, please take care of yourselves and each other. Thanks very much for watching. I appreciate it. Until the next time, see ya.